Imagine waking up one morning to find that the savings you had yesterday, enough to buy a house, are today only enough to buy a loaf of bread. Your salary loses its value the moment it reaches your hands. People fill wheelbarrows, not wallets, with money. It sounds like a scene from a movie, but if only it were. This is called hyperinflation. We usually think of money as a reliable friend. We assume it will always stay put and retain its value. Yet history painfully reminds us that this is far from guaranteed. Moreover, the most severe hyperinflations did not only destroy bank accounts, they toppled governments, family structures, societies, and even entire empires. Like an uncontrollable financial fire. They engulfed countries and exposed how fragile systems really are. Now, you will see step by step how the currencies of 5 countries, entirely real economies, turned to ashes and what costs this imposed on people. Keep in mind as you listen, inflation usually starts quietly. It comes like a whisper, it creeps in unnoticed. By the time most people notice, it's too late. So, first stop, 1923 Germany, the Weimar Republic. After World War I, Germany was drowning in debt. The Treaty of Versailles imposed a massive burden of 132 billion gold marks, an unpayable debt for generations. So what did Germany do? They printed money, a lot of it. At first it seemed manageable, then prices skyrocketed. By November 1923, the German mark was nearly worthless. A loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. People burned money in stoves. Children played with piles of banknotes. Middle-class families lost decades of savings within weeks. But the real destruction was this. It wasn't just money that collapsed, trust did too. When a society loses faith in its currency, everything shakes. Trade, contracts, salaries, savings, all lose their meaning. This economic collapse brought social chaos along with it. Despair and confusion paved the way for extreme ideologies. 10 years later, Hitler's rise was built on top of this trauma. Now let's go to Zimbabwe in the early 2000s. Under Mugabe, sanctions and economic isolation, the government seized large lands and agriculture collapsed. The state started printing money again. The result? A familiar scene. By 2008, inflation reached an estimated 79.6 billion%. Prices doubled every 24 hours. Zeros were constantly added to the currency. 10 million, 100 billion, 100 trillion. Eventually, they gave up and switched to dollars and rand. The cost? Pensions disappeared, industries collapsed, an entire generation emigrated. The real surviving wealth was only land, skills, and tangible assets. Let's go a bit further back. Hungary in 1946. Perhaps the harshest hyperinflation in history. Already devastated by war, the country sank further as the government endlessly printed the currency called pengo. Prices nearly doubled every 15 hours. Inflation reached a level of 41.9 quadrillion%. Yes, you heard that right, 16 zeros after 4. The currency fell so much in value that first milpengo, worth 1 million pengo, and then bipengo, worth 1 billion pengo, were issued. Still, it wasn't enough. Eventually, the state abandoned the currency entirely and introduced the forint. What was lost? Everything. The middle class vanished, savings evaporated, and state power collapsed. Hyperinflation wiped out not only the economy, but memories of the past as well. Now let's look at Latin America. Venezuela, from the 2010s to today. A country rich in oil and resources, yet its economy and governance are in shambles. Corruption, state intervention, and constant money printing drove the country into disaster. The government, to cover budget deficits and maintain power, printed money nonstop. The result? In 2018, inflation exceeded 1 million%. If you didn't spend your salary that day, its value halved the next. Store shelves emptied, barter returned. Zeros were constantly added. Then 6 zeros were removed overnight. The economy collapsed, the healthcare system crumbled, millions emigrated. The lesson was the same. Those who could access dollars survived. Those who couldn't were condemned to scarcity. Let's look at a lesser-known example, Yugoslavia in the 1990s. With the collapse of the Soviet bloc and the breakup of the country, the economy was destroyed by war, sanctions, and poor management. By 1993, monthly inflation reached 313 million%, with prices doubling every 1.4 days. The government repeatedly changed the currency. Citizens' savings were reset to zero each time. People started using German marks and US dollars to survive. The official currency became so worthless that it was used to light cigarettes or cover walls. And in all these cases, the same cycle emerges. The state is cornered. It prints money. Trust erodes. Currency loses value. Society unravels. Years, continents, and reasons differ. But the mistake is always the same. So, do you think these are things of the past? We're more experienced now? Really? Today, global debt is breaking historical records. The U.S. alone has reached $34 trillion in debt, and it keeps rising. Over the past decade, central banks have printed trillions of new money to keep the economy alive. Interest rates remained low, markets were inflated, cash flow pumped abundantly. At first everything seemed fine. Inflation remained quiet, growth continued, the system appeared stable. Then 2021 to 2022 came. Decades of accumulated pressure suddenly erupted. Supply chain disruptions, the war in Ukraine, energy crises, and the effects of money printed for years came together. Prices soared rapidly. Central banks went on alert. Interest rates rose sharply. Markets shook. And ordinary people, those who gained the least from the cheap money era, started to feel squeezed. Rent climbed, food expenses rose, salaries fell short. Long neglected questions resurfaced. What is money? Who controls it? What happens if trust collapses? Hyperinflation isn't here yet, but warning signs exist. They appear in both prices and people's perceptions. Beliefs like we can solve problems by printing money. Taking on debt is not a problem, and the central bank will fix everything are widespread. These are dangerous tendencies. It was the same in Weimar, Zimbabwe, and Venezuela. Today the scale is much larger. The global economy is interconnected, entangled in debt, and dependent on central bank decisions. If trust collapses, the impact won't affect just one country. It will shake the entire system. And this brings us to you. You can't run the Fed or the European Central Bank. But there are still things in your hands. Your savings, spending habits, the risks you take. So, what can you learn from these 5 major crises? First, real wealth is not in paper, but in purchasing power, land, skills, tangible assets, and productive capacity matter. In these 5 countries, printed money melted away, but real assets survived. Second, trust is the foundation of everything. Money gains value not from ink, but from belief. When a society starts saying, "This money is worthless," the game breaks. Trust can erode far faster than you think, and regaining it is nearly impossible. Third, Inflation hits the unprepared. It spreads rapidly and affects ordinary people the most. The state can reduce its debt with inflation, but you can't change market prices. Financial literacy is essential not only to grow wealth, but also to protect it. So what does protection mean today? Understanding the system, avoiding unnecessary debt, diversifying assets. It could be foreign currency, a new skill, or adjustments to living costs. Remember, inflation is a hidden tax. If you don't protect yourself, it quietly steals your freedom. These 5 hyperinflations were not coincidences. They happened because of mismanagement, wars, denial, arrogance, and the fallacy of if we print money, everything will be solved. But now you recognize the pattern. So when someone says, it could never happen here, you know exactly how to respond. History does not repeat itself exactly, but if you don't learn its lessons, it will crush you. History knows the answers. Subscribe, and I'll show you where to look for them.